just throw these down. I'm Emer Maguire, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the mystery of music according to science. So I'm a science communicator. I like to teach science to the general public. I like to try and get people interested in science. And I try to do that by talking about science that's in the everyday. Science of love, science of friendships, science of music. And also host, as Herb said there, a BBC radio show called Science and Stuff with Emer Maguire, where we look at all things science and tech. But something that people don't know as well about me is that I'm actually a musician and a music lover. Any music fans in here? Good. So music has been a massive part of my life, way before science or way before anything else. As a child, I always loved music. And you know, my mum was always surrounding us with music, and I just thought it was such a brilliant pastime to have. And I was thinking, music is there in so many of our life's moments. It's there, you know, if you get married, if you're at festivals with your friends, if you're on a night out. It's a huge part of your life. And that got me thinking, what does music mean to us? And I tried to come up with, you know, like a really inspirational quote, but I couldn't. So I took one from a philosopher who did a much better job. Without music, life would be a mistake. And I think that kind of personifies how much people adore music. But I wanted to get the definition of music. Was there a scientific definition? And the Merriam-Webster dictionary has said that music is the science or art of ordering tones or sounds in succession, in combination, and in temporal relationships to produce a composition having unity and continuity. And that was exactly how I was going to describe it. They got in there slightly before me, but the bit of that I find interesting is the science or art, because to me, coming from a creative background and a scientific background, music definitely sits somewhere within the middle. So if we want to understand music, I like to go back to the beginning, to the evolution of music, and when humans started using music. So about 60,000 to 30,000 years ago, we had this cultural revolution. We started cave painting, we started making jewelry, and all these creative behaviors that we started engaging in meant that we were starting to use our imagination and our intentionality. And that probably meant that music came along during that same time period. But we needed proof, we needed evidence that music was there. And in 2008, we found a piece of that evidence. In Germany, there was a flute that had been found. It had been made with 5 holes. It was 43,000 years old, so it was right in the middle of that time period. There were other instruments close by, and this kind of indicated that our ancestors were making instruments, and they were using instruments, so they must have been aware and engaged with music. There's a very interesting guy in this story, Wolf Hine, which I think is a fantastic name, but I like to think of him as the flute finder. He was one of the members of the archaeological team that found the flute, and he did something that I think was genius. He made a copy of it and played it, and he found that it produced something called the pentatonic scale. And now, in musical history and musical systems, this is a 5-note scale that we use back then and we still use today. For example, it's used in Smells Like Teen Spirit, Oasis use it, it's used in You Somebody by Kings of Leon. So we almost have that link to history. They could have been making similar music to us. And I like to think about our ancestors maybe in their caves, doing their cave paintings, making their jewelry, and maybe thinking up the start of Don't Look Back in Anger. So we know when our music evolved, but we need to think why it evolved. And Charles Darwin said music evolved as a sexy survival tool. It's not an exact quote. It's kind of my summary of what he said. So music evolved as a sexy survival tool. So it's theory of evolution, natural selection, and survival of the fittest. If there's an activity that humans are involved in that's really, really old, like music, as we know now from the evidence, and popular across a lot of cultures, like music, we most likely still have that activity because in some way it benefits human survival. But how can music help us survive? Darwin looked to the birds and he thought, birds use songs to attract mates. Maybe humans do the same thing. It sounds a wee bit unusual or a wee bit far-fetched, but if you think about it, if we want to keep humankind going, we need to keep reproducing. We need to attract mates to do this, and music can help. Would people agree with that? Yeah. So if the survival of the fittest approach to evolution is correct, there's no real other logical explanation for the origins of music. It doesn't help us survive in any other way. Back with our ancestors, it wouldn't really have helped them to get food or shelter. It would have been quite costly. Could have actually attracted predators their way. So it must have helped our species survive in some way, and the reasonable explanation is that it helps us attract mates. So that got me thinking of the question, does this guitar make me look hot? Only reason, I play it. Put up your hand if you think musicians are sexier than normal people. Keep your hands up, please. 2 hands up for you, like it. Keep your hands up. Yeah, so everyone with their hands up, that's the correct answer. So we've got 3 musicians here. Quite clear that some of them are quite good looking. But I'd like to talk about something that I call the Ed Sheeran effect. And no disrespect to Ed, I do like him. But he's not traditionally attractive. Or attractive. God forgive us all. But he wouldn't be classically attractive, what you would think of as classically attractive. So I did a little bit of digging into this because a lot of people told me they fancied Ed Sheeran, and I couldn't really see it. And it turns out he was on the hottest gingers list with, that's a thing, with people like Prince Harry, who a lot of people do like, Ewan McGregor, who is very attractive. And I thought maybe this is just for people who are into gingers. You know, maybe it's just for those people. So I kind of opened my search up a bit. And a couple of years ago, he was on the sexiest men alive list with people like David Beckham, Chris Pine, very, very attractive people. And I tried to figure out the difference, and the difference was that he was the only one holding the guitar. And science have looked into this. And people kind of panic then and think, oh God, I'm less attractive because I don't play an instrument. You don't have to worry too much because there was a study in France where they got a guy to kind of try and get 100 girls' phone numbers. When he was holding a sports bag, 9% of girls gave him their phone numbers. When he had nothing, 14% of girls gave him his phone number. With a guitar case, 31% of girls gave their phone number, which is unbelievable. I understand exactly where they were coming from. But I think that's fascinating. And the thing is, you don't even need to learn the instrument. Just hold the guitar. I don't even play this. This is just purely so I look more attractive. Just hold the guitar case. You'll be on to a winner. Now, a slightly more serious side of music. I do work in the NHS in the hospital, so I'm quite interested in music as medicine. And the NHS describe it as a psychological therapy, tries to facilitate your positive changes in emotional well-being and communication through music. But does it work? There's a very interesting study by Hanser on depression, and Hanser wanted to find out if music would be able to reduce stress and anxiety in older people who had depression. So she did a very, very interesting study. She split a group of her cohort into 3 groups. Group 1 got proper full music therapy once a week, 8 weeks. The next group got a more diluted version, and they got telephone support, and the last group didn't get anything. And the groups who received therapy, diluted or not, had a dramatic decrease in their anxiety and depression afterwards, and that lasted long term. So music can obviously have a very positive impact on us mentally. There was a lovely story that came out of this study, which you don't say usually about scientific studies, but a really lovely, heartfelt story. There was a member in the group called June, and she had a husband called Bernard. And June was 69, and her husband had passed away. And obviously she was devastated about this. And the therapist said, look, why don't you use your husband's records, because he was a musician. He played in big bands. Use his records as your therapy tools. And after the study was finished, June sent this to the researcher. Before I took out all those records, I spent every day thinking I would never see my husband again. I loved him so much I couldn't bear to be without him. But now when I put on his music, I feel like he's with me. I think about all the great times we had and how much we shared. I love the records, and I love listening to his records. Thank you for giving me back my husband. So I think that's a sign that music can really help us in terms of our anxiety and depression, and I just thought that was a really lovely story. So what about people who aren't musical? Is anyone in here, anyone consider themselves to be tone deaf? Put up your hand, because there must be statistically quite a few of you. You put your hand up really confidently, so you're definitely tone deaf. That's what they say. That's what they tell me. You don't know yourself, obviously, because you're tone deaf. Okay. Would you sing a wee bit of something for us? Oh my God. It has to be something recognizable that everybody would know. Anything.
I don't even speak a language natively.
Sing it in your own language. We'll know if you're out of tune.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça é essa menina.
Okay, so we can tell pretty quickly if somebody's tone deaf. Big applause for that, because that was brilliant. You're very brave. I wouldn't have done that. You're very brave. So if you're tone deaf, you were struggling a wee bit with the jumps between the notes, and a lot of music that we have, there are a lot of small jumps between the notes, so people who are tone deaf can't perceive that or reproduce the melodies. And you can be born tone deaf, or it can be as a result of brain damage. So there's about 2 in every 100 people have this. So I think the amount of people put up their hand in here, it was quite an accurate number. So it's a bit of a guessing game. You're singing. There's something associated with this, which is beat deafness, which is quite a new thing. People who can't dance, people with 2 left feet, like Drake. Is anybody in here think they're a bit beat deaf? They can't really dance? Put your hands up. I'm not going to make you dance in front of everyone. Yeah. Can you, though? Sometimes people who are tone deaf can't dance as well, or perceive their own body movements, but that's okay. So there's slightly more people per 100 who are beat deaf, and this was only discovered quite recently. So there was a study in McGill University, 2011. If you have a hard time keeping up with a metronome that changes tempo, you're probably beat deaf. People who are quite bad dancers, quite awkward dancers, probably beat deaf. And it's abnormalities in the left auditory cortex of the brain. So 2% of people are tone deaf, 4% of people are beat deaf. So slightly more bad dancers than bad singers. So I'm actually a singer-songwriter, so I always think, is there a perfect formula for a song? Could you do it like maths? And I found out there actually is. Most of our Western music, most of our songs are in a major key. Most of them start on the root note of a key. As I said earlier, the melody follows a lot of small jumps and a couple of big jumps. The songs are repetitive. Think Justin Bieber, baby, 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 oh, baby, baby, over and over again to make it easier for us to remember. We use about 7 over 12 notes because we have this magic number 7. It's the kind of ideal amount of information to keep in our head at one time. So many popular Western songs follow this pattern. Any guitarists in here? You certainly know these chords. They're the first 4 chords you learn. Yeah? So C, A minor, F, and G. We are kind of obsessed with these 4 chords. They're in quite a lot of our Western music. And they're in quite a lot of songs. And you would say to people, you know, you could play any song with these chords. And people usually think, no, it's only pop songs, or it's only new songs. But I just kind of wanted to demonstrate the importance of these chords in our Western music. everybody hear that okay? So that's our C, or A minor, or F and our G. So you can use these for anything, really. So baby, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Oh, darling, place your head on my beating heart. Ed loves these. He uses them all the time. Taylor Swift as well. So it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. You can tell me when it's over, and if the high was worth the pain. Got a long list of ex-lovers, they'll tell you I'm insane. And I got a blank space, baby. And should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. Can you feel the love tonight? I feel it in the air. So laying love songs and everything. I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back these feelings for so long. But if you feel just how I feel, baby, come on, oh, come on, and let's get it on. Any songs you want, you can use those 4 chords. Thank you. So just to finish off, I thought it'd be a nice exercise to write a song trying to use a challenge of only using those 4 chords. And obviously, automatically, it'll be a hit. That was my intention. So I thought C, A minor, F, and G. If it works for all those songs, surely it would work for a song for me. And something else I like to do whenever I'm trying to teach people about science is to try and make sure people have a good time and people enjoy themselves. So I thought I would write a song about myself personally, about my love life, because it would be a bit of a joke. And I thought I would write it about Instagram. Has anyone here heard the phrase Insta-bae? No? So Insta-bae is whenever you find someone online and you kind of fall in love with them. You don't know them. It's usually on Instagram, and it's usually someone very attractive, and you aspire to spend your whole life with them. And you would say things like, oh, I was 50 weeks deep in their news feed, meaning, you know, you'd gone 50 weeks back, and you'd looked at, you know, their photos from when they were about 3, and then you kind of gotten to know their whole family, a real kinship with this person, but they don't know you. So I thought I would write a song about one of the many times that I fell in love on Instagram. So it's called #Instabae, and I hope everybody has had a great day. So that's our C, A minor. So I'm just going to use these chords, I'm not going to play anything else. I'm just online talking to people. I gets me some wine, end up stalking some people. I'm trying to find my Instabae. Then I see your picture and I'm like, #hey. You like taking photos of yourself in the mirror, me too. You also like taking photos of your mediocre food. You even have pictures of you and your dog out on your bikes. I don't like dogs, but I could use them in my photo for likes. Then I see it, cue my heart break. This must be a mistake. Who the is she in your Instagram feed? No, it should be me. I've been 50 weeks deep in your photos for days. Maybe we should get engaged. There's like 30 different ways for me to find your address. Snapchat Geo, tagging on. You thought you turned it off, but baby, you was wrong. Your Facebook checked in to your mama's house. Tell her from outside of her window that I like her blouse. That girl in your Instagram isn't half as pretty as me, despite the fact she's an underwear model for Abercrombie and Fitch. What a witch, I'm guessing she's got no personality, and I don't care that her hair looks like it's from an ad I saw on TV. How could you choose her? What a loser. This must be a mistake. Who the is she in your Instagram feed? No, it should be me. I've been 50 weeks deep in your photos for days. Maybe we should get engaged. There's like 30 different ways for me to find your address. We could have been for real, Facebook relationship. Now my only commitment is eating this bargain bucket with a gravy chip. We could have Netflix and chilled. I've got a sofa bed. Now I'll just Netflix and fill myself with garlic bread. Who is she in your Instagram feed? No, it should be me. I've been 50 weeks deep in your photos for days. Maybe we should get engaged. There's like 30 different ways for me to find your address. Now I've just noticed you have the same second name. You must have married her. My life will never be the same. How could you do this to us? Do you have no decency? My hashtag instabase, hashtag instabetrayed me. So I slide into your DMs, that's direct message, guys. And as I wait for your reply, tears are filling both my eyes. I wrote, I can't believe you married Kylie, loved her, held her, kissed her. You replied, I don't know who you are, but Kylie is my sister. Thank you. So it could be me in your Instagram feed, yeah, it should be C. I've been 50 weeks deep in your photos for days. Baby, let's just get engaged. There's like 30 different ways for me to find your address. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.